That was a train derailment in Colorado that took place here recently. Things like that are going to continue to happen as we keep neglecting our infrastructure in this country. There's no shortage of work. What there is a shortage of money being spent on projects, and there are no shortage of excuses as to why we can't spend on these things. Our rail system is so old, and a lot of our bridges are so old that this is what just keeps happening. Just as school massacres are commonplace now, derailments and bridge collapses are going to become the next thing that are just very common. And a lot of them aren't avoidable because you have to cross bridges to get places, and trains transport some of our goods. We need to revamp our infrastructure so badly. It is getting so out of control, and it's not being worked on because they're like, oh, there's no money in it. No, there's money. We have flood zones. That's another issue in this country. Flood zones that are completely avoidable, that can be worked on and fixed, that are not. An area I'm in, I did a video about this not too long ago, is just barely getting flood work done that should have been done years ago. We're talking 20, 30 years ago, the work should have been done. But that can kept getting kicked down the road. Big business has no interest in fixing this stuff. They don't care. They just want to keep moving on. They don't want to spend anything. They don't want to pay taxes on anything to fix it. It is not just the burden of the American people to be paying taxes and take care of this. We need to start taxing these corporations and billionaires to get this stuff fixed, because the solutions we have that are put forth that are cheap or free aren't cutting it anymore. We are losing so much infrastructure, and it's making some cities unlivable. There's serious work that needs to take place in flood-ridden areas like Florida and Louisiana, just to name two. That work that needs to take place is going to cost money, but that money's just not being spent. Sure, there's smaller projects that are taking place, but they're not enough. They're not even stopgaps. They're just little projects so they can say they did something, and they're not doing anything. No, we can't really do much about, tornadoes and stuff. I get that. But there are other things we can do to help against floods, or better things we can do to help in the aftermath of disasters. But as we've seen, as disasters keep happening, insurance companies pull out of areas. It is becoming more difficult to get a home insured in Florida. Colorado, where I'm at, due to hail damage, a lot of insurance policies are changing now. They don't cover hail damage in some cases. In some. They still cover light damage, but in catastrophic loss, they're not covering. For homeowners insurance, even here in Colorado, we had a number of carriers pull out of the state because they didn't want to insure her anymore, which is awful. How are you supposed to protect your property, or how are we supposed to rebuild things if insurance isn't able to cover anymore? Because it is bankrupting some of these companies. There are some companies that are not able to sustain anymore. So we have to do better. We really have to do better. You want more jobs? There's plenty of jobs if we start funding these projects. But that's, one of those things that people vote wrong on, or they just don't vote at all, or it gets just swept under the rug. So